We're live. Episode 57, This Life in Tech. I'm Jason.
This is Dan. And in honor of Easter, he has risen.
You know, man, real quick, I had a conversation a couple weeks ago with somebody when I was in Maryland about what would be one of the first things you would do with the time machine if you could only go backwards. You could never go past the point you started. So like we're starting in 2018, you couldn't go to 2019. You can only go back, right? Yeah. And man, in my top 5 is standing in front of that tomb and seeing if that dude actually gets up and walks out.
Yeah. I mean, look, we've talked, I don't call myself a Christian, but I believe what I believe. And, and I don't fault anyone for believing whatever they believe, right? This is just how I feel. And, I would like that because here's the thing. Many religions, and this is what, interesting to me, in India, they recognize Jesus. In many faiths, they recognize this. So at a minimum, person evidently lived a good life, was able to inspire.
That's right. That's what it's about, man. You know what my number 1 was? This is an interesting segue.
Oh, I got to hear.
I want to go back and wrestle Abe Lincoln.
Oh, I would do that.
Because he was like top tier, dude. Over like Hickson Gracie level top tier folk style. And I grew up wrestling folk style, and I would lose more than likely, but yeah, I would go back and wrestle him.
If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best.
That's right, man.
Woo!
Woo!
Yeah.
Oh man. So talking about competition and winning and the motivation to get up and repeat after failure. Where to start, man? Where to start?
Well, this has been burning me, and I've been on Twitter this week, and I think some people may be a little bit misinterpreting some of it, but I'm just want to clear it out. Because here's the thing. I'll re-put this back as how I teach some of my students when it comes to cryptography class that I teach. But the first part is, while I completely disagree with everything David Hogue says, I support his right to assemble and to say whatever he wants. Where I draw the line with him or even with the other side, because it's been very clear, I'm neither Republican nor Democrat. So if your motivation is that if someone doesn't agree with me, to attack those that help make them money, you need to remember something up front. We're all Americans. You don't have to agree with my particular beliefs. I don't have to agree with yours. But you forget, someone that works for some of these personalities, they probably believe like you. Guess what happens when they don't have advertisers? The people that believed like you lost their job too. More than likely, they may have lost their job first. We don't have to agree with our employer's stances on things, but we're here to do a job and get paid. We don't all have the luxury of working for employers that believe the way we do. And if you think for a moment that any of these advertisers that are pulling out won't go back in, I will just direct you to Tiger Woods, who did some things as a human being that probably no one should do. Yet I'm pretty sure he still has all of the people that used to sponsor him back, or pretty close to it.
Look at John Jones. I mean, that's, we talk about UFC. So John Jones is a great example. Here's what I don't understand, man. And I do understand. I don't understand why I have to even talk about it, is what I mean to say. Is this propensity to call for somebody's job when we have a disagreement in discourse is so divorced from reality that it's a pathology in my mind. It's a disease, and it needs treated, because this is what is ripping apart our societal fabric, in my opinion. This idea that because I don't agree with you, I'm going to make sure you can't speak anymore. That's fascism. That's fascism by definition, man. I'm so angry I can't talk. Man, more than the immune system bullshit, this one gets me fired up. Because
with that, I mean, people think that we see this stuff on here. We've had many heated debates. We don't agree on everything. We agree on a lot of things. We don't necessarily agree on how we get to the end result.
Well,
but here we are, and we can go, here's not only a good friend, a good colleague, but someone I respect.
Well, and part of that I think is created through disagreement and being able to find enough common ground to achieve a mission. I mean that, and this is where the pathology creeps in for me. Why is it not okay to be different? Why is it okay to not disagree? Why do we all have to agree on what you want? That is the person speaking. That's fascism. That's all that is, man. And it's borderline intellectual terrorism.
It absolutely is. If I can't convince you based on my argument, why do I have to go and provide mob mentality in order to convince others? Oh, I can't convince you, so let me go convince the people that support you. When you do that, you're taking, this is no different than anything else. When I look at, so we have two different groups. One's up here, one's down here. So what do I want to do? I want to bring the group that's up. I want to bring it down to my level. What have we done to figure out how to bring them up? Again, I support David Hogue and his right to assemble and everything that he wants to do. And my heart goes out to anyone that loses their life. Absolutely, it does. But at the same time, I am a Second Amendment proponent. I have guns. I carry almost everywhere I go. I do it responsibly. And I'm getting around to my blogs that I'll put out there on what I use technology to make sure my ammunition, my guns are protected. Because I take seriously what it says on my carry permit. I am responsible 24 hours a day for that gun, that ammunition, until I have legally sold it and reported that to the state police that it's been sold.
Right. Well, look, man,
365.
And this is one of the areas where I think at least maybe we have a difference in degree. I don't own a gun. Sometimes I have a fainting, passing, fantastical interest in it, but I probably will never do it. But just because I don't doesn't make me ever think that you shouldn't. I mean, to the point where I don't even really ever think about it, to be honest with you. I think it's an interesting discussion. I think it's interesting to discuss what would it be like if nobody had guns, just as much as I think it'd be interesting to discuss what would happen if everybody was required to carry a gun. And I just find that intellectually interesting to talk about. But that in no way, shape, or form makes me feel like you shouldn't be a CEO because you own a gun. Or you know what I mean? Or whatever. It's just ridiculousness. It's weakness. It's this idea that because I can't win, you shouldn't be able to compete.
Well, and with that, this is what I'm going to ask of you, Ninja. I'm going to ask you to hold me to this when I become a CEO of some company, that you hold me to this, that I will never bow down to either political party that is in power or in the minority, that I'm just going to go out there and make the best product possible and not try and never, not try, that I will never bow to either side. My political beliefs will not influence my company's beliefs because I want to go where the most people who might potentially buy my product is.
That's right. And that's consumerism and capitalism. And I hereby vow to hold you to your oath as much as perhaps physically can.
Hey, whatever it takes. If that takes Ian, if that takes TK, if that takes a whole art, whatever it takes. I mean, in reality, because if people just focused on that, I'm just going to make the best product. Guess what? No one's going to stop buying.
Well, especially in tech, we have plenty of examples of this. Most recently, look at Elon Musk, look at Richard Branson, Mark Cuban, look in the more recent past, in our past, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates. I've never heard them, when they were in charge of their own company, ever get involved in a political debate in terms of my company supports this, or somebody saying, hey, Steve Jobs shouldn't be the CEO because he believes in homeopathy. Nobody gave a shit. And you know why? Because they were too busy kicking ass.
Bingo. Which is a great segue to the next part. When does it become okay for people to tell you to stop being amazing?
Well, I think at any time they can say it, but when they try to force you, that's when it becomes an issue.
This is why I love the Lexus motto. It is in pursuit of excellence.
That's right.
You can never be excellent, but the moment you stop pursuing it, it will never be achieved. My dad growing up, because most of my lessons in life came from playing baseball and from my dad. I didn't realize that he was as smart as what he was until I was about 30. But he said, if you can beat a team by 10 runs, you should beat them by 20.
Yeah. Yeah,
if
well,
and that's something 100% of the time, you will beat more than you will ever lose.
Yeah, well, that's, you see this kind of culturally now in this whole idea of quote unquote a try hard. Like somehow trying is bad, or wanting to be the best and pursuing that is bad. Somehow you're less than, as opposed to just trolling constantly. Yeah, I'm specifically talking about like esports. But no, man, growing up like wrestling, I'll go back to my example with Abe Lincoln. That was something that was just beat into you physically beat into you through just the sport itself. Is, man, you don't stop. You keep going, and it doesn't matter who you're wrestling. You just keep going until you win. And if you could have win that easy, you should have won by more.
And that gets me. I not oftentimes will I ever bring up this movie, but it is a good movie. And it's with Sean Connery, for those of you that like to watch here in Indiana, not Nicolas Cage in The Rock. The Nicolas Cage character says, I'm going to do my best. Do your best. Losers go on about doing your best. Winners go home and have the prom queen. You can fill in the blank for what it is. But yeah, here's the thing. Winners don't think about doing their best. They just go out and win.
That's right. Well, and so, I mean, you can have a side discussion about sportsmanship. I don't think I'm not on board with the pursuit of winning at the cost of others, for instance. But I should do anything within my power, within the agreed upon rule set to win, period.
You ain't trying.
And when somebody tells me, hey, woo, when somebody tells me, hey, maybe you shouldn't do this because other people won't be able to compete, fuck them. Straight up, fuck them.
Change the rules. As soon as you figured out the rules, I'll change the game.
That's right. You can't keep these crocodiles down. Oh man. And look, it's not that I'm not empathetic. It's not even, me. It's not even that I wouldn't help people. I know you would too. I'll help you win, but not at the cost of me winning. Well, okay, so why don't we figure out how to all win together? I'm on board with that. But to sit here and tell people you should let off the gas because you're winning too much, fuck you, watch what happens now, because now I'll crush all of you. All of you. You just put yourself on the list. And now you can exist in the winter of my discontent.
When you're on top, everyone wants to take you down.
That's right.
And this is what I have to explain to a lot of people. And they don't understand this. But being from Maryland, they don't understand that there's a reason why you don't have to put a lid on top of the crab pot. Because once one crab starts to escape, they just try and pull you back down.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not going to be in that crab pot. I'm going to continue doing the right thing the right way all the time.
Certainly, as much as I can.
And this is just mind-boggling to me in anything. When people start trying to tell me that there's no law on this, there's no policy on this, I don't need a policy, I don't need a law to know what the right thing is to do.
That's right.
And this is like when people ask me, and I had this debate, not just the other day, why do I feel like I need a gun? And I've mentioned that I should have brought this back to my students. I'll do that first. I believe that many of us spend enough time trying to understand the other side. So there's a huge debate in the security world. Many of you know this. It's about encryption. The FBI says Apple and Google are basically a bunch of jerks for not handing over their encryption keys. But the current and the 3 or 4 previous directors of the National Security Agency have said, we don't want a backdoor in encryption. And my students are torn. And I understand this, Taryn. Because what I tell those that believe that there should be a backdoor in encryption, how are you going to go talk to the intelligence community when you know that this is a world economy? And if we make sure it's there, so is China, so is Russia, so is North Korea, you name it, because they want product there too. And how are you going to talk about those lives that were lost because of encryption being broken? At the same time, for those that don't believe in a backdoor in encryption, go talk to that mother and father that lost their child because they were abducted. it's hard on both sides of it. Now, I do not believe in a backdoor encryption. It would be great if we lived in a society where we don't need guns, we don't need encryption. But until we start trying to understand the other side, it doesn't matter what it is. We have to have empathy for that other side. And I'll just go back to Jerry Spence, who one of the most successful defense attorneys in the United States. He wrote a book, How to Argue and Win Every Time. You have to define winning. If it's a loved one, winning is not beating your opponent into submission. It's about both walking away feeling as if you didn't lose.
Right.
And it's like that in everything. And I understand David Hogue and many of those people, they lost some friends. Tragedy. Still, the reason why I carry, I remember reading something that was around the average response time for a police officer in the event of a home invasion to get to your house is 9 minutes.
Yeah. I was going to say 10.
Right? The average time it takes for an altercation to be finished is 5. That's 4 minutes. Guess what? I'm still going to call. I still have a barricade. I will slap that safe right next to my bed. I will have my gun in my hand, and I will announce. Of course, they're going to hear when they hear that racking of the gun and the revolver go off in terms of it being cocked, because I got multiple. If you enter this room, you will be shot, because that's what my training said. I 100% believe in everyone. If you're going to own a firearm, you better go get training.
Yeah, well, right. And you better, if you're going to point it, you better be ready to fire it.
There's only one reason why you point a gun, and that is to do that. And I will never do it unless it is in the defense of my property, friends, family.
Yeah. Well, to me, this goes back to another part of that pathology is this intellectual weakness that renders one unable to differentiate between a discussion of how things are versus how things ought to be. And those are two different, entirely separate discussions. We can have a discussion about encryption being necessary now based on reasons A, B, and C, and I probably agree with at least 2 out of the 3.
Yeah.
But as my blog post that's coming out on Monday or Tuesday will point out, I think it ought to not be, and you said this too, it ought not to be necessary in our future. In fact, I would go so far as to say it ought to not exist because it's bad for our future. But that's completely divorced from the reality right now. 2 totally different conversations. The same thing with guns.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just go right back to that part about my students. They're still split, but it makes it, they at least go, oh, how am I going to articulate and argue when there's no right answer?
Yeah, well, and in fact, how can I experience intellectual conflict or challenge and grow from it? And that's what's healthy about difference.
Yeah.
Listen, and unless anybody fucks this up, this is the result of the basic genetic hierarchy that's wired into us. We're here because our ancestors figured this out, and they're the ones that survived. They didn't get eaten by the tiger.
No, but in getting into that, sometimes we have a lot of people that just want to put their head in the sand like an ostrich.
Well, and they want to create tigers where they don't exist.
And I think both of that comes right back down to when we start hearing about WannaCry.
Oh, man. It makes me want to cry is what it does.
Right? WannaCry, for those of you who are out there, it's ransomware. Now, I have yet in my entire career ever seen a 0-day exploit a system. It's possible, right? I'm talking about a live production system, not in a lab scenario. WannaCry has been out now for a year. Boeing, what are you doing? That patch has been available for over a year and you still haven't patched?
Boeing, how about fucking Atlanta? I mean, and listen, we're not talking about Canton, Ohio, where I grew up, which is a fairly large city, has a football Hall of Fame in it. But Atlanta, oh, get out of here, man. Get out of here.
City of Atlanta, ransomware. Why? It's not that difficult. It's really not. I'm not saying that I do everything right, but I can tell you right now, I preach and I have preached. If you're going to do two things well in any enterprise: patch management, vulnerability management. And you will prevent 98% of the attacks that exist, because most people out there are not doing a 0-day. It's a half-day exploit. That's where an exploit exists and a patch exists, and you chose to not patch.
That's right.
I
Even through
feel like I should
ignorance.
be a preacher today. I've got my sport coat on.
Oh, you got the cadence down too, man. I was going to say it earlier.
Watch.
I was going to say it earlier. You got the cadence down too.
Woo!
We'll put you in a mega church, bringing in billions.
For you we've only got like 3 weeks till the real production show.
They have no idea what's going to hit them, man.
They do not. They definitely do not know. Too bad there truly isn't a 4 horsemen that could actually show up there.
Well, we just need to find 2 people that are somewhat approximate equals. It's going to be hard.
I'm out. Can't think of anyone.
Well, you could be sure as shit I ain't letting off the gas to find one.
Yeah, this is great. So this is the part why does ransomware continue to, because I got a message from someone that is an executive at a particular friend of mine, and this is systemic everywhere. We just have to assume that no one's information has been compromised. We have to assume. That is the ostrich approach. What do you mean assume that no one's... No, assume everyone's information has been compromised. Develop a hunting team to go out there and find in your organization where it's been compromised. Close that threat window as fast as you possibly can. Remediate, fix, figured out how it got in, prevent that particular avenue.
No, man, and that's a mentality that's bred from a lack of competing. You know what competition taught me? Always assume you're losing and act accordingly. Plan for when your opponent does what they need to do to win.
Yeah, I am not going to go out there and worry about my opponent. I'm going to go out there and inflict my will upon them.
Yeah. Well,
I might say I'm a little aggressive.
Well, but that's a winner's mindset. I don't deal in hopscotch. I deal in annihilation, and it's either going to be me or you. To put it in that kind of an idea, because that's the intensity that I feel is necessary to ensure my own success.
It's absurd that I'm not saying that I'm never going to have a system that gets affected by ransomware. Absolutely, it could. Guess what? I will wipe that system and I will reimage it.
Yeah. Dude, I ain't going to be the mayor of a major U.S. city and get it shut down because of it.
Yeah. Because I have at least implemented time into what the attacker has to do. And if you keep data on your local drive, they just wipe you. And it doesn't matter if it's the server. It doesn't matter if it's the database. I will restore very quickly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what from a risk-based perspective, what's the bigger risk? Letting that malware spread and shut down more machines, or losing 2 days worth of business data?
Yeah.
Well, I'd rather lose the data personally. Just like I'd chop my own leg off if I got bit by a zombie. Not even a question.
Not even a question. It would be like Coyote Ugly.
Oh man. I remember being a little kid, man, and I was really into being a field biologist. And I remember seeing an animal that got trapped, a muskrat. I don't have those outside of the Midwest. It's basically like a little varmint. And I had friends that trapped a man, and this damn thing chewed its own foot off. And I sat there, I was a young teenager, and I thought, Jesus Christ, man, that's savage. And then I'm like, but that thing is alive, and it's still going to continue to be alive. I mean,
yeah. Absolutely. It absolutely will. Because all that matters is moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and winning.
You can't move forward, guess what? Your species is going to die.
That's right. Oh, man. Atlanta. Boeing. Oh, my God, man. Wait, and there was another one. Oh, Under Armour. My Fitness Pal. Now that wasn't ransomware. That was a breach of the back end itself. What, like 140 million accounts or something got leaked?
Yeah. Well, and why?
Who knows? But they pointed out they use bcrypt.
Because encryption doesn't matter. No one gets this. If you didn't patch the system, if there's a vulnerability that exists and a patch exists and you didn't patch, guess what? You're going to get got.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time. Because and this is the other thing people misunderestimate or misestimate, I should say. You're not managing this on a day-to-day basis. I mean, I'm not going around managing all my various accounts on a daily basis, but the people that are looking to compromise those systems are looking on a daily basis. It's a completely different time scale.
Oh, my honey badger didn't come up. Like, be like a honey badger. They just don't care.
Yeah, they don't, man.
Got all the predator will look at that porcupine and go, I don't think so. The honey badger just goes in and I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm not worrying about my enemy. I'm going in and I'm going to inflict my will.
That's right.
When you're in cybersecurity, you're in technology, do the right thing. The reason why organizations get compromised. Now, I don't really know what happened with Alex Stamos at Facebook or at Yahoo. Maybe he was out there pitching what's supposed to be pitched. I don't know. Why couldn't he convince them?
Well, let's assume that he failed to convince him. Why was he still there if he really wasn't part of it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I just wonder.
I don't know, man. There's a lot of potential explanations for it.
I'm not going to stop doing the right thing. I will continue doing the right thing. And until my company releases me, I'm going to keep doing the right thing.
Yeah. And then just find the next group of people that want to do the right thing together. I mean, I've not won every game I've played, man. Let's be real about this. But that doesn't mean I stopped playing the game.
I've won a lot more than I'll ever lose.
Well, yeah, man. I have a much better than a 50-50 win rate. Look at my Mech Warrior stats, bitches.
I'm definitely Hall of Fame status. In any sport.
Yeah, well, this is this concept of I'm a legend because I already believe that I am, not because I actually have been made such. Because being made such isn't required. I don't give a fuck what you think. I really don't. Because in my head, I'm already there because that's what's necessary to get there.
I have already ascended beyond.
That's right.
It does not. People can, this is what's interesting to me. Many people say I have an ego. That's fine. Great. But what matters to me when all of a sudden, and I hear from students, when I hear from former employers of mine, and they talk about the lessons I've given them, or even better yet, when people that currently work for me that I've known have complained to HR, and I purposely send them a 360 review, and they respond, I don't know what they responded. I don't know who it is. It's anonymous. But, there was like 30 some things that went out. And the lowest score I got on how likely are you to recommend Daniel as a leader? And the lowest I got was an 8. Now, here's what's funny about that. Only one person gave me a 9. That was me, because I was the only person that did a 9. So everyone else was either an 8 or a 10.
Right.
People are like, why didn't you give yourself a 10? Because I always think there's some room for improvement.
Of course there is. Yes. And that's that mindset. And that's all it's really about. Yes, man, I come off as aggressive. Yes, I swear a lot. Yes, I'm intense. But I just want to win. I just want to be, and winning for me is being the absolute best human being that I possibly can figure out how to be. And I'm willing to push the line pretty far.
I want to ask you this question.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. I think I know the answer to this. Would you rather be right and lose or wrong and win?
Oh, man. I'd probably rather be wrong and win because I think that's actually a double win.
Yeah. This is what people think. First off, there's no such thing as right or wrong.
Yeah, true. Well, in the moment, maybe, right? But that perspective shifts.
Right. And the way I look at it is because I am never doing this by myself. I always have a team. And that means someone on my team did something that convinced me the way I was going to go was not the best way.
Right.
And collectively won. We got to the space arc and we got out.
Yeah, exactly. So winning is the end condition, which is satisfactory. And then through being wrong, you should be able to adjust such that you're not wrong in that way in that instance again, which is itself a win.
Either accept or reject the null hypothesis.
Yeah. I really am never really concerned. I don't think you are either, truly, with being right, so to speak, especially at the cost of winning. I mean, because that's a Pyrrhic victory. What's the point?
No point for me. If I didn't get that W, don't care.
That's right. Well, because people also underestimate the value of momentum, and winning creates momentum. Momentum is usually important in being productive, and winning more. Which, come on, man, who wants to lose? It's instructive. I'm not going to devalue it, but I'm not setting out to lose.
All right. So would you rather get a loss or a participation trophy?
Oh God, I'll take the loss.
Yeah,
that is the trophy. Give me another scar.
I want
Look
the
at
scars.
That. Look at that. Give me another scar. I'll take it all day long. Those are the lessons you never forget.
I mean, I've had 6 knee surgeries on my left knee. I've got so many. I've got a scar that starts at the top of my calf and goes all the way down from being spiked. Because playing ball at second base, come in spikes high. All the way down, it'll never go.
This is the best summation of this attitude I've ever heard in my life, man. And I'll end with this. Which, by the way, just to summarize, to end that last conversation, to me, there's zero excuse for Boeing and Atlanta. Zero. There's no rational explanation for that other than you chose to accept risk that, in hindsight, you clearly should not have.
No, they chose idiocracy.
Yeah. Which was just a bad decision, categorically. But anyway, so here's the best summary of this intense attitude, I think. So I wasn't here for this, but somebody told me it firsthand, and I believe him. A friend of mine was at a club with some friends back in the day in LA. And long story short, one of his buddies, who's a small dude, probably my size, bumped into a guy by accident in a club in LA. I mean, they're packed, right? Into a dude that's just ginormous. And my buddy's friend turns around and says, "Hey, man, I'm sorry." And the guy turns around and pushes him and gives him shit, right? Now, a lot of people would freeze or flee. This is perfect, man. I love this. This dude, after getting pushed, rips his shirt off and says, "Let's go, bitch. I'll give you cardio." It wasn't about the win. It wasn't about the loss. It wasn't about that other person in that moment. It was about, you've initiated an aggressive act and I'm going to respond triply.
Yeah.
And I don't care if I lose. I'm going to make you sweat. Perfect.
What are you willing to lose?
Yeah. Well, and I think for this mentality, if you just look across the board at great entrepreneurs and great real innovators, right? I'm willing to sacrifice absolutely everything.
Why not? I mean, it was funny because when we were back at Silent Circle, because all of those folks were special forces, and you're like, "What are you? They're going to throw you out a window," and I'm like, "Great." Yeah. You're like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "I'm a computer geek, so if I don't die, then their training sucks."
Right. Well, there was a couple of dudes in particular that sometimes I wish they would grab you and throw you out the window because I just wanted to see it.
Yeah. Well, I've got nothing to lose. Like, if I don't die, their training sucks.
Yeah.
They're going to lose an eye.
Right.
They're not coming out unscathed. I mean, I don't have the type of training they have. I have training, but not to their level.
Oh yeah, sure.
Right. And plus they're also like twice my size. But I'm not going to back down.
Oh, no. Right.
I got to look at myself later, and it doesn't matter what it is. In life, you can either choose to win or do everything you could to win.
Right.
Lastly, do nothing and leave the battlefield altogether. I can't do the third option.
No,
I'm either
no,
going to win and do everything I could to have won.
and this is what people also don't understand is it with the intensity that radiates out that you're feeling on the outside. How much do you think I'm keeping inside? Because it's proportionately more. I would suspect you're the same way. In fact, I know you are. I'm way more intense with myself than I am with people outside of me.
Oh yeah. People ask like all the time, like why, like in a work environment and things like that, why does it ever look like I'm upset? I'm like, the eye of the hurricane doesn't look like it's upset either. It's the chaos that's being inflicted all around. I don't need to be. I'm calm.
Well, I get bent out of shape a little bit sometimes.
What's that?
I said I get bent out of shape a little bit sometimes. Less the older you get, the more you figure out little tricks to control it. But
yeah, and I mean, it's taken me a lot. People ask, I'm like, look, I've got a really bad temper. I mean, do not mistake my kindness for weakness.
Yeah, well, and of course we do. That passion is intense, man, and it burns, and it's going to burn one way or the other.
And I take this very seriously when it comes to my profession. When I get an executive that might answer something like that and go, oh, let's just assume that nothing bad has happened.
That's negligent, man. That's negligent.
It is. Let's just stick our head in the sand. No, nothing is. These are not the droids you're looking for.
Right.
All right. No.
And that's exactly the attitude that leads people to call for other people's jobs so that they don't have to compete in that dominance hierarchy. Right. Fuck you. I run the hierarchy. That's my attitude.
Right. And that's why people go, why would you say something like that to them? Because it is either I'm going to lose my job for doing the right thing, or I'm going to kowtow and lose my job because I didn't do the right thing. Because we're going to get breached.
Right.
It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So if you are going to choose, I'm going to choose, all right, then you're going to have to terminate me. Because I'm not signing off on that. You can overrule me, and I will put it in writing for when that bad thing happens, and you say, well, you're being terminated because this bad thing happened. You'll be hearing from my lawyer.
Yeah.
Wrongful termination.
I'm all on board with somebody saying, hey, man, I have this vision. Will you help, or do you want to be a part of it? Hell yeah, man. If I agree with it, let's do it. And let's do it as best as we can. But don't ever ask me to bend a knee for the sake of just bending it in some appeal to authority. Get out of here. Let off the gas. You win too much. I don't win enough. You don't understand. This isn't enough yet.
Yeah. I only bend a knee to one.
But listen, man, the only time I bend my knee is when I'm tying my shoe.
Yeah. And so
or doing squats.
Yeah. Even still, that knee, when I'm doing squats, my knee is not hitting the ground.
True. But it's bending.
It's bending. But when we talk about bending the knee, we're talking about fealty. And I'm only doing that to one thing, not to another human being.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, it doesn't mean that I'm not loyal to others.
Oh, yeah, right.
But here's the thing. I don't have to ask for fealty. If you have to ask, leaders don't ask. People just follow leaders in one way or another. It just happens.
Well, winners want to be around winners, man. It's classic.
I mean, that's why, the best thing to me is the whole story of King Arthur. A round table. There's no head. We all either agree or we disagree.
Right. Well, and at the same time, being comfortable with at some point, somebody has to make a decision. Somebody needs to be that wicker man. And so this might be the truly last thing I say. People forget the purpose of a king is to die. Metaphorically. And that king, through his death, relieves the peasants of their sins and their burdens. And he allows them to express that, which is where like the concept of a wicker man comes from.
It's interesting because back in that day, it was about power. Mm-hmm. The king led from the front. Today, they're not even on the battlefield.
Right.
Because it's much more political.
Mm-hmm.
I would so much better live in that day. I would absolutely live by the sword, die by the sword.
Oh, man.
I love the notion peace is only found at the other end of the sword.
Yeah. Well, I mean, would you rather be a warrior in a garden or a gardener in a war?
Warrior in a garden.
Amen. Every day.
It's not even it's not even a question. I mean, I look at that like when we talk, in the movie Gladiator, which I loved. Maximus is just this one general leading from the front. What can I give you? I'm ready to go home and attend to my garden.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. All right, man. Episode 57. Yeah.
I think
motivation. Be better. Challenge yourself. Don't be afraid of failure. It hurts. So what? Learn from it.
Pursuit of excellence.
Life hurts. Life is brutal. Unless you get it fucking mistaken, the universe is a hostile place. And we can only, as far as we know right now, survive where we're at. And we can barely do that.
Even though Ric Flair's a bad man, if it was me, I would be the hitman, because it is excellence of execution. His brother hadn't died, the hitman would not ever have lost ever again.
That's true, man. Well, you got a fair point.
I would definitely be the hitman. Excellence of execution.
Well, that's a good tag team. Woo!
Woo! Coming soon, April 20th.
Private jet flying, limousine riding. You shut your mouth.
They have no idea.
Nope. Zero. They better buckle up. Well, people are just going to be standing around with their jaws open, and that's fine because that just feeds into it.
They're just. We've got to. Is there anyone else going to be there that we can get to video this?
Oh yeah, no, I'll get somebody to do it. Oh, for sure. I already have it figured out.
All right.
All right, everybody. That's episode 57.
Happy Easter, everyone.
Happy April Fool's Day.
Take care. See y'all next week.
Later.